Hey everyone, this is Ben back with you in the model shop. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope everyone's having a good day. This video I was trying to get out last week, but I have a couple other projects I'm working on. The big one, I'm trying to build myself a new woodworking bench. I'll throw in a picture here of the base real quick just so you guys can see that. But there's nothing wrong with the bench that I have right now. It just wasn't purpose built for exactly my needs. It was too low. I wanted some vices in some different spots, and I had modified it to work just fine. But I thought I got to the point where I wanted a new bench that was exactly the way I had dialed the other one into. So anyway, that project was going on. So that cut into the ship, and then I had a major training event for work last week. I had to go out to Colorado, and I got a cold from that, and so it didn't feel so hot. So anyway, here we are. But anyway, I digress. This episode, we're going to do some of the railing on the upper superstructure. We're going to work on the main funnel and the details that go along with that. We're going to put together some of the initial ship boats and the hangars, and just kind of get some of that whole assembly process going. It should come together, well, I don't want to say fairly quickly from here on out, but it is just a bunch of little sub-assemblies at this point, which is great. So yeah, without further ado, I hope everyone's having a great Thanksgiving, and let's get into it. Righto, so here is the smokestack, the kit pieces, two halves glued together, worked out very nicely. It is in the very middle of the ship, and so per the instructions, we're going to go ahead and put it together. Just a couple quick notes on the instruction. You see there, part 7D is the spotlight covered, and then on the right there is the spotlight exposed. We're going to do the exposed spotlight because that's a little bit more interesting. So there are some photo etch replacements parts. There is a part that's supposed to replace the grill, 1B up there, and then also the cranes here, 5C. Those get replaced. I wish I had little machine guns to replace these. They look really big, but I don't. So those will probably be the kit supplied parts. But there's a couple little things here. There were two giant holes that needed to be filled onto that part, so those are setting up. These are our alternate pieces that will hold the spotlight. They go in that little hole. So check out the grill here, though. That actually, I think that looks pretty good for the top of the smokestack, personally. And per the instructions for Tom Model Work, here, let's do this so we can see things right. That piece right there in the middle is supposed to somehow replace that. And I think the plastic kit part looks fantastic, so we're just going to keep it that way. Alright, the cranes, they took some figuring out, but those are the cranes. Those two little pieces right there. And they're really fragile, but we'll figure out how to make them work. A bunch of the other pieces on here are for the turrets, and obviously we won't be using those. But I'm just kind of picking and choosing here what is going to be used to replace the kit parts and what's not. Again, we've got really nicely finely molded ladders that look great. The seams, like I touched them a little bit with a sanding stick just to see if I could scrape anything off, but I didn't need to. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and put this thing together, and I think we're just going to do a minimum amount of photo etch, and then we'll get painted up, and then it goes, there's these two holes, it goes right here. The front hole doesn't fit quite right yet. I'll have to trim that up, but the whole thing will go right there. So let's get this painted up and put together so we have something to look at. So some work done. Some of you clever folks may have noticed that in the previous clip I attempted to put the stack on backwards, so I straightened it out. I was looking at them like there's got to be some railing or something that goes on there, and indeed in pictures there is. And so that's how we have that railing right there, and I'm showing it to you now before I paint it, and it completely disappears. I I picked this out from the Tom's Model Work railing. It seemed like it would work, and it did, and there it is. We got our spotlights in place, everything else is set. Really what's left here are the cranes, that little mounting piece, what have you. I've got the holes filled in. So okay, so here's our cranes, and this stuff is microscopic tiny. And then here are the kit supplied cranes, and I kind of like the posts. They're on the left there in this example, and I like the bottom beam with the carriage. The only thing that's really fat is the part up on top here. So what I think I'm going to do is I will cut off the top part. Basically we're going to keep the post and the beam, and I'll try and cut that part, this bottom hole hook arrangement, off and just save the supporting structure there and glue it into place. And I think that that will be an improvement on the look of things. And then we'll of course go ahead and glue that on, and then this whole thing drops into place nicely and we'll be ready for installation. Turns out the hole was keyed. Sorry about that fiddling around. It drops in very, very nicely. So let's go ahead and, like I said, I'm going to fiddle around with the cranes and try and get it all mocked up. Wish me luck. Alright, here we go. Worked out mostly, I guess is the word. So I did have, they didn't fit, they were a little bit too tall, and so I had to pinch rather the tops of the crane. One of them dropped on the floor, got a little dinged up. You can see it's not perfectly straight, this one over here on this side, but you know, from right there I think it looks fine, which is really, like, here's a dime right in between. It's teeny tiny. So I think that turned out nicely. I gotta paint it. I left the little machine gun off on both sides because that's gonna get painted black and dropped in place. This thing will get installed on the ship. Let's drop it on there real quick and take a peek. Alright, there it is on the ship, dropped in. As you can see, it fits nicely. Gotta be careful when I turn it because the main guns are just sitting on top, but you know, it looks great. This is a marked improvement, and again, this is one of those, I would argue, little detail things that looks great when you zoom way in and you're really up close to it, but you know, it might kind of get lost because the average person is going to be looking at the ship from here and you can barely see it. So anyway, alright, we got to paint this up and get it installed, and then move on to our next section. So there we go. Again, this isn't glued in place, I just set it on there, but got our little railings, it's painted, the little guns, you know, no big deal, dropped in nicely. But in keeping with my theme of work from the center on up, it occurred to me that I probably need to put railing on here, and I didn't know exactly where it needed to go. So I whipped up the next little section of the superstructure to determine where the railing goes. I looked at some pictures. So, whoop, sorry about the compressor. So obviously a little stretch goes right here, and then starting from this little corner on around up to the edge of the catapult, railing goes as well. And then, you know, we could drop this in place. In the back, I did some checking, and it's pretty straightforward for this kit. We're just going to go again from the catapult around all the way over and up to the turret. So I need to get some railing painted up and installed, and I wanted to do that before I glued this in place because then it makes it easier for me to, you know, reach around the whole kit and just go ahead and manipulate it as I need to. So not super exciting, but let's see if I can get that railing put together here. And we're back. Quick shout out to Brian at BAS Dry Dock. It snowed down here too, buddy. Not nearly as bad as up there, but it did it. Alright, so yeah, see all the railing? No, you can't, because from out here it's hard to see. Let's zoom in. Here is the railing on the upper superstructure installed. It actually wasn't that bad. Doing it like this was a really good idea because everything was out of the way and it went on pretty easily. So now we can press on with all the goodies that go on the next layer up. Obviously railing has to go along the entire circumference of the ship, but I'm going to wait until pretty much finished at that point. So anyway, yeah, let's move on to getting some of this stuff together. Alright, so here we are back. Sorry I'm a little nasally, it's been some time and I have a cold. But we have installed the stack and 2 of the hangar bays with a set of the ship's boats, some of them. So let's zoom in here and take a look. Just some initial comments. So the ship boats come painted clear, and that's so that you have the opportunity to have the clear windows shown on them. They're small, they're pretty well detailed, but at this scale it was just really difficult to get anything other than a basic paint job with brushes done. I'm going to try and even it out. I realize here on camera it doesn't look that great, although from the front you can see the windows. Yeah, there's a molded line you can see right along the edge there. I tried to paint that black. It was really difficult. It was a little bit easier actually just to paint it white and then kind of scrape the paint off to get you that line. So I tried to put the sides that looked the best facing out. The hangars, so let's see the doors right there. Those are the molded on parts. There are replacement photo etch ones that came in the Tom's Model Shop PE set, but these plastic parts I think actually looked a little bit better, and when this all gets finally assembled you're not going to be able to see anything anyway. So we're zoomed way in close. Let me back up just a little bit here. Here's the forward part of the superstructure there, the bridge in place, so you can get a little bit better sense of what we've put together. Oh, yeah, just your reminder here. Here's a dime upside down right next to everything to see how small this is. So, again, self-criticism. When we zoom in, there we go, way close. I mean, you can see my little paint lines aren't perfect, and there's little doodads that are incorrect. You know, you could spend a lot of time making this perfect, and I could do that, but it's about spending all that time doing it. And when you zoom out to about here, which is, you know, we'll say here, this is about as close as anyone's probably realistically going to get to stare at this thing. They look great. I think it's fine. So, and then out here where the whole ship is, and here's my hand, I think they look nice. So I think the next part I'm going to build will probably be back here, this hangar here, because there's a metal photo etch mast and everything, and there's a whole lot that goes on here, and the other ship boats get attached here as well. And that will be basically the 2 middle sections, and then we can move this way out with our construction process without impeding anything that's going on in there. So that's where we're at for right now. Ship's coming together nicely. Hope you guys are all doing well and enjoy the holidays. Thank you very much.